yang sebenarnya membuatkan orang non-Muslim tak suka pada Islam. Sebenarnya. It's not because they are not aware of Islam. Okay, the media does do the propaganda, it's true. But a lot of the cases, the Islamophobia is coming from the Muslims themselves who don't practice Islam properly.
Every Muslim is born with a mission, with something to do. It's not like we are special or you're special. No. Every Muslim that is listening to this podcast, they must understand they are very powerful people. They can do a lot of things and there's no excuse. You must tap inside yourself, ask Allah in this Ramadan, oh Allah, I want to serve you, show me how to do it the best.
So, is there any experience that probably the best experience and the worst experience that you had ever?
With a convert.
With what?
With your project, with your conference and everything. You don't mention some names, but probably in just what do you call it? Some case.
The best experience is definitely when we made freedom. When we were able to gather 50 converts from 25 countries speaking 15 different languages together to make a film that up until today there are people who are watching it every year.
And they all did it fi sabilillah. Never asked for payment.
That's the thing. They didn't ask for payments.
They understood the mission. They understood the importance of that film, and they all gave their sincere.
Some of them were already famous. But it was great because it's a type of film, even if we did it with Zara, when we watch it, after a few years, we still enjoy it and we still learn from it. It's a big boost of Iman, and I recommend, and soon we're going to translate it in Bahasa Indonesian for you guys, and hopefully we can work together to, spread it out. Because even for a born Muslim, it's a big boost of Iman to watch this type of thing. And of course, for Mualaf, it helps them to stay strong Muslim because they see 50 converts. It's a bit like the Avatar. The Avengers. Avengers. It's a bit like the Avengers where you have 50 converts. Sometimes when you have 5 converts in a room, the vibe can be very strong. But imagine 50 for 90 minutes talking to you like this, because we shot like
25
this.
women,
25 women, 25 men, and
25 countries.
That was the best experience. New Muslim World Conference was great also in UK because we organized this from Malaysia. To be able to organize a conference from Malaysia in UK and get 1,000 people. UK is a bit the champion of dakwah. I would say it's one of the powerhouse of dakwah in the English-speaking world. They have a lot of resources, they have a lot of talent, and the fact that we're able to, to make that type of impact. It was broadcasted live on Islam Channel, which is the biggest British Muslim channel in UK. That was a big thing, and they were really amazed. We came up with that idea, and Malaysia was about to do it in 2020 with Tun Mahathir, the Prime Minister of Malaysia. He agreed to come, so we were able to put our work to a level where even Prime Minister of country look at what we're doing and they're like, you guys are part of the solution and we want to work with you. So we are blessed with this. And again, it's not from us. Allah is the one who make everything happen, and we just take our chances. And now we want to do Alismenya Nusantara because Zara speak all languages. Zara speak Malay, so we thought, and I want to learn Malay. She's been telling me, you should learn Malay because you guys interviewed a French sister, who speak Bahasa Indonesia, and I felt ashamed. Zara was saying you speak only a few words.
Perlu, mesti.
Harus. Kita mulai belajar pakai bahasa Malaysia kalau gitu ya. Mudah-mudahan si Julien bisa paham ya. Julien mengerti. Sebenarnya Julien mengerti kalau kita bahasa Malaysia gini, mengerti dia?
Tidak mengerti langsung.
Oh, tidak mengerti langsung.
Moi, je parle français.
She speaks French. I speak Spanish, Portuguese, English, French. Not too bad.
He speaks four. He still speaks four, but Malay is not one of them.
Because in Malaysia, people speak English.
Yeah. I think if we would have lived in Indonesia, I think he would have been
like my best friend. One of my best friend is Panamanian. He speaks Malay fluently, but when you go in a country in your 20s, like this French sister, I'm assuming the one you interviewed before, she's married to an Indonesian, and I think she's quite young. And when you learn in your 20s, it's okay. But me, I became Muslim 30
and Malaysians speak English to him.
Yeah.
All the time. So he's like, I don't need it.
I don't need it to survive. When I went to Brazil, nobody could speak English to me, so I forced myself to speak Portuguese because,
like me with Turkey,
I wanted to eat.
I have to eat in Turkey.
So you can speak Turkey, Zara? You can speak Turkey?
Yeah,
Zara?
I speak a little Turkey.
She's Masyaallah, she's good. She's good in languages.
I need to do groceries, bro.
Masyaallah. You guys, so you guys can manage the Turkish language, Malay, English.
So Portuguese? I speak
four languages. Masyaallah. On y parle français maintenant?
Oui, c'est pas mal.
Je comprends pas. Je peux parler français bien. Zara, sekarang kita dengar bagaimana kisah yang dijelaskan sama proyek kalian nih. Aduh, masya Allah ya, kita sepertinya perlu banyak belajar ya. Apalagi mungkin banyak sekali hambatan yang pernah terjadi gitu ya. Kalau kalian lebih banyak bergerak di Malaysia atau Turki atau di Prancis? I mean your projects more in Malaysia?
Global.
We are Osmanli.
Osmanli. So you mean what? So what are the family of Osmanli ya?
Yeah, because bila kita sudah pindah berhijrah ke Turki, kami belajar banyaklah sejarah Turki dan khususnya sejarah Osmanli, sejarah Islam. Jadinya bila kami belajar pasal sejarah Utsmaniyah panggil Utsmaniyah no? In Indonesia, kerajaan Utsmaniyah, kita dapat tengok yang sebenarnya zaman sekarang dengan maksudnya multicultural, multi-race, multi-religious society sudah wujud dalam kerajaan Utsmaniyah. Dan sebenarnya model yang diorang langsungkan, model yang diorang tetapkan untuk seluruh kawasan kerajaan Utsmaniyah tu sebenarnya very much applicable for the world today. So model diorang tu memang ideal, and even for the French, macam orang Perancis yang datang Turki tengok dia punya seni, kesenian, kebudayaan, bukan sahaja orang-orang Turki sebenarnya, sebab kerajaan Osmani tu dia bukan untuk keturunan Turki, maksudnya they were really multi-religious, multicultural society. Yep. So in Turkey we spend a lot of time to mengkaji sejarah sebenarnya. Yep. Yeah. Sejarah Ahli wal Jamaah, sejarah kerajaan Osmaniyah, sejarah apa yang terjadi kepada family Ottoman dynasty.
We basically go wherever there's an invitation or permission to go. We are also very attracted to South America because I always say this is the last continent really where Islam needs to be spread.
Where is that?
South America.
South America, yeah.
So Brazil, Argentina, Islam is not well spread and known, and the people there are 500 million. So it's maybe 2 times the size of the population of Indonesia, not being Muslim, and they don't like so much anymore Christianity. So there's a big opportunity.
And actually Islamophobia di Amerika Selatan sangat kurang.
No, not so much.
Yeah, not too much. Why? Because sebenarnya because we spend a lot of times with converts and studying Islamophobia cases and sources and how to solve it, and that's why we do freedom and all these conferences to also help with Islamophobia. And one of the reasons that we discovered as the punca of Islamophobia is actually daripada Muslim tu sendiri. Muslim yang ekstrim dalam fikiran, dalam fikrah, dalam tata cara dari segi adab. Itu yang sebenarnya membuatkan orang non-Muslim tak suka pada Islam. Sebenarnya. It's not because they are not aware of Islam. Okay, the media does do the propaganda, it's true. But a lot of the cases, the Islamophobia is coming from the Muslims themselves who don't practice Islam properly.
Yeah, I think Islam, many says that Islam is perfect, but Muslims is not.
Yeah, exactly. Muslims are not perfect.
Many of Muslims don't really practice the Islam as a Muslim on Muslim life. Sometimes probably that's why probably the judgment from outside Muslim thought that probably this is how Islam looks like. Probably that's because there's so many. I mean, the education of the Muslim is not really spread really well outside outside on the environment of non-Muslim majority. So, how do you guys find it so far? The progress on South America about Islam.
Documentary
about Islam. I mean, the South America about Islam. How do they find Islam
in South America or around the world?
Yeah, but I mean, around the world or on South America or now around the world. How do you find it so far?
It's like this. We know we are in Akhiru Zaman, so there are a lot of challenges. A lot of people are leaving Islam. This is true, especially in the Arab world. Also in this region, especially among the youth, there are a lot of people who have become atheists. They don't want to say it, but it's the reality. How I know that? Because some of my friends, they work in school as teachers or directors, and they tell me this is really bad. So at the same time, there are many non-Muslims, especially in the West, who are becoming Muslims. So Islam is always good. It's what the Muslims are doing about it. And we always say the Muslims are not practicing or good enough, but the main reason is because they don't have a mission. They don't have a real reason to practice, you know? It's like you learn martial arts for 10 years and you know you're never going to compete. Yeah. What's the point? Yeah. You know, so at the end of the day, when you have a mission like the Ottomans, which is very clear, is to bring Islam all over the world for justice and truth, it's very easy to practice, because if you don't practice, just to give an example, Sultan Abdulhamid, the last great Sultan that ruled the Ottoman Empire and the whole Muslim world, the last ruling Sultan, he used to pray Sunnah prayer all the time. And we know it's not so easy for everyone, including ourselves. We're not always doing it. But he said, if I don't pray Sunnah prayer, you can stop to obey me and you can not follow me. Sunnah prayer.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So when he wake up in the morning, he doesn't touch the ground before making on the Tayamun.
Sultan Abdulhamid is never without wudu.
Never. He step on the ground as a servant of Allah.
The moment he wakes up, he does Tayamun, and then when he walks to the source of water, he will take wudu. Before going to bed, always on wudu.
So why I'm giving you those two examples? Because he has a mission. If he has not wudu on him all the time, if he's not praying his sunnah, he is under attack by the whole world. He cannot afford, you know. Subhanallah, one day someone came to his office to tell him he had a dream about the Prophet ﷺ. And in the dream, the Prophet said, our beloved didn't send his salawat to me, to us. And the Sultan could not believe, because yes, it's true, the day before he forgot one time. You know what I mean?
One time before he slept, he fell asleep. Why he forgot is because he worked so hard, he fell asleep on his table. And he forgot to salawat. And then the next day, there's a random man coming to him saying he dreamt of Rasulullah, telling that man that tell the Sultan, our Hamid forgot his salawats last night. And seek what you want from him. And then Sultan Abdulhamid felt so guilty he paid the debt of the person who was went bankrupt of business. He said, "What's your debt?" And then he paid.
So this is our role model, which is 100 years ago. Of course, the Prophet ﷺ is our main role model, but we're talking about a man who was alive last century, you know, and the Muslims are not practicing anymore because they are not anymore carrying any mission, any duty. So it's just a bunch of rituals. Okay, Ramadan, Zakat, Hajj, but why we are doing all this? You know, when you go to Hajj, is to also network and meet some people to make Islam grow. Not only because you want to do ibadah in a selfish way, you know, when you perform, when you are doing Ramadan, is to share your wealth, to share your time, to serve the other servant of Allah, the other Muslims, is to, you know, not only do rituals, you know, but now we have been, Islam is bigger than a religion. Deen, lakum dinukum waliya din. Deen means a way of life. So we boxed Islam into a bunch of ritual, which is now becoming only a religion, which is not. Islam is bigger than a religion. It's a way of life, and you must find a mission. So, for example, you're doing a lot of good things with your wife. You have conferences. Nothing stopped thousands of Indonesians to even give you more support. To, you know, after watching this podcast we're doing, what's the point?
Yeah.
If they're not more engaged, sharing your work, at least sharing what you're doing and offering to support you, you know, same. So there are many organizations like ours or yours. So it's up to everybody, especially in this Ramadan, to not leave Ramadan without being attached to something that will serve the Ummah. For example, taking care of orphans. But if you don't have something of service
and of consistency, I think
consistency,
even if it's little, consistency is really, Allah loves the deed that is small but consistent. A lot of times the Muslim Ramadan, you see so many people Tarawih, Eid even more, and then Fajr, nobody shows up. It's really a high in Ramadan. But then actually, from Ahl Sunnah's point of view, Ramadan is the harvest month. Is to reap your fruits, but actually where you plant the seed is already Rajab. Then Sha'ban is when you work on the plants, and then Ramadan is to harvest the fruits. But lots of the Muslims now, Ramadan is the time to berpulung-pulung.
Yeah, Ramadan is only an event.
The community is there only Ramadan, but then after that there's no community. So this is what we're trying to do with our projects, is to create consistency in network, in support, convert support, in community-based activities like charity and stuff like this. So we try to make people feel Islam is a way of life, and Islam is very much alive. It's not something that is separate, because that's how the secular work. Religion is in the other side. You pray, but then when you work, when you do your day-to-day life, Islam has nothing to do with that.
Every Muslim is born with a mission, with something to do. It's not like we are special or you're special. No. Every Muslim that is listening to this podcast, they must understand they are very powerful people. They can do a lot of things, and there's no excuse. You must tap inside yourself, ask Allah in this Ramadan, oh Allah, I want to serve you, show me how to do it the best. According to what you gave to me. Some women, they cook fantastically and they brought many people to Islam. Just by cooking. So it's not only doing podcasts, and that's one of the way, or conference is one of the way, but there are a lot of things you can do, and many do, and we are not aware. But too many Muslims are on the bench watching the show. You must be involved in your community, and you must do things, and ideally with the right guidance, with a sheikh or a Muslim leader that channel your potential to the best way, because there are also a lot of Muslims who do a lot of things, but it's, you know, there's in the Quran, in Surah Kaf, chapter 18, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, they will be the ones that are doing a lot of things, but they will find out what they're doing that was not good. So we assume it's the Christians, but it's also an ayat for us, you know? So doing a bunch of stuff without hidayah, proper guidance is also not the right way. So I would say the priority is find the right leadership. And then once you find it, then you can do something that is going to be beneficial, and then you can practice Islam, you know?
Well, I think there are so many challenges still, yeah, about the ummah, about the ukhuwah, that as we know that Muslims, I mean the main thing about Islam or Muslims is the same. How do they do salat and do the wajib is the same, but there's some kind of probably a bit differences that probably on the furu, and then sometimes in Islam there are more discussing about the unnecessary things than becoming that difference is becoming something big, as we know that it is not the essence. So is there any ideas from you guys probably how to make this communication happen among Muslims, I mean among Islam, among different kind of element of Islam? How do we can make the communication become in one narration, one good narration? Well, in Indonesia there is differences about the Nadatul Ulama, there's a Muhammadiyah, there's a Jamaah Tabligh, there's many differences, but we're actually we are in the same shahada. We're in the same shahada. What probably some details that are a bit different, but sometimes we are more focusing on the different other than the similarity. So do you have any idea how to make this communication works?
Well,
that's a very good question.
It's a good question, and
because that is a big problem.
It's a big problem for everybody in the world, yeah.
Find how things can work. We have to look at the ones who made it work. Yeah. Okay, so what's the closest in time? And the biggest legacy is the Ottomans. That's why we keep on insisting on the Ottoman. Of course, we are learning from the Sahaba. We are learning from the first dynasties. But the closest to us, and also the ones who brought Islam to your regions, are the Ottomans, right? So at the end of the day, we have to look at what they did. You know, it's 600 years.
It's easier to imagine because when it's too far back, when you don't have a visual, it's very hard.
It's 600 years of success. So we have to look at what they did, and we have to look also at what the enemies of Islam did when they destroyed the Khalifa. When they destroyed the Muslim Empire, what they did first. What the first thing they did is to destroy all the Jamaat. So in Turkey they call it tarikats, and
they killed all the saints.
They got rid of all the sheikhs, So what happened is that on top of having no more leader, political, economical leader like a sultan, you have no more spiritual leader. So the Muslim Ummah has become orphan. And then what happened? Many groups start to emerge. Some were good, some were not so good, and some were literally created by the enemies.
I see.
Yeah.
The same enemy that brought down the empire.
So the first thing we have to look at, and yes, you're right, we are all under the same shahada. But the Prophet ﷺ said also there will be 73 sects in Islam and only one is accepted, only one is correct. So this question, and it's a mistake, I didn't really ponder too much about it for my first 10 years as a Muslim. But when COVID started, I had a bit of time on my hand and I realized, wait a minute, am I upon the right path myself? Because I thought, I'm a mainstream convert, I take a bit of everybody and I make a cocktail.
Salad bowl Muslim.
You know, and I pour and I test it, it tastes good, but every time I pour it tastes different, you know? So then I realized, okay, who is the one who can guide me the most to the closest form of Islam that is pleasing Rasulullah Sallallahu. Let's not forget that he praised Sultan Fatih when he liberated Istanbul. So if the Prophet Sallallahu praised an Ottoman Sultan, it means the Ottomans are doing quite okay to follow the proper Islam. And then you just have to look how they dealt with things, including with converts. You know, including with converts.
That's what we said. The model, the closest model to multicultural, multi-religious, multi-race society that uses shariat and akhlaq and adab is the Ottomans. And actually, when we were not living in Turkey, we didn't really understand the history truly. Actually, we even read very bad things about the Ottoman, because a lot of the things that you will see online about the Ottomans are written by Orientalists. So a lot of lies have been created around this and by the enemies. So the Muslims forget their glorious history, glorious past. So then you don't want to have that desire to be glorious again. And this is what we're trying to do. We want to revive that. Hey, we were like winners, you know, we were in the winning team, you know, the Muslims. So we try to, especially for the youth now, it's like you used to have sultans who would do this and this and that, the princes that would do this and this and that. So, and it's not too far back. So we try to create real life ummah heroes that people can relate to, because once you have a role model, because it's very hard when you can't imagine too far back. Yes, people say, okay, Fatima is my model, you know, Aisha is my, Khadija is my model. But you can only read the seerah, but you can't really imagine, because you know, unless you're connected somehow. But with the Ottomans, because they are, and you're not Arab,
it's like this, to put it in a way, Ottoman is the best brand. If you take it as a brand, and I'm gonna make my case. We're talking about South America, right? When we visited the Makam of Ertugrul Dirilis, you watched the show, and I think it's popular in Indonesia. Ertugrul. There was a family from Chile who came out of Chile to Sogut, which is a small village in the middle of Turkey, where Ertugrul is buried. And I asked them, non-Muslim, Christian, and I asked them, are you here because of Ertugrul, the TV show? And he said, yeah, we are fans. So what does it tell you? Some people from Chile, which is, by the way, the most educated South American country, you know, they have the highest education, they have the highest economy in South America. They came all over the way to Turkey, not to Istanbul, to Sogut, which is the place, because they love Ertugrul, and for them is a champion, and they love his adab, his passion for justice and truth.
And honor.
So it's the first time.
Even non-Muslim realized that the Ottomans came with a lot of honor. Ertugrul came with a lot of honor. The
president of Venezuela, Maduro, came on the set in Turkey. A president of a South American country came in Turkey because he's a fan of the series. So what does it tell you? The world, the non-Muslim around the world, when they watch Ottoman, even though it's a bit of fiction, but there's truth in the story. They love it because why? It's encompassing all the values that is fit to live together, and it also encompasses values of being a real man. You know, and this is lacking in the Ummah. And if we have only 5 more minutes, that's what I want to talk about, because you cannot make Islam grow with the current situation among the men. A lot of Muslim men are just mommy's boys, and they are not stepping up. And this is the fact. So we have to address that. And this is why we see women emerging, especially in Malaysia. I mean, women are very, very strong. And I'm sure it's the case in Malaysia, which is good. They're going to create strong children. But the current generation, the boys are not taking charge. They are not taking responsibility enough. And it's not necessarily the fault, but we have to address that issue. And they need to have the right role model. So when they watch Ertugrul at 7 years old, and they say, oh, this is the model that I should be like, someone who fight for justice, someone who fight for truth, who is a real man.
Fight for the oppressed.
You know, but we don't have what type of, now they are following the football players, you know? It's not the best, for me, they are not real men, if you're asking me. Because what is a real man is someone who takes care of his responsibility. A real man is someone who takes care of his family, of his responsibility, and of the gift that Allah gave to him. So we are far from this, so we have to kind of reconnect the young men to the true potential And you can't really do that in the cities.
Even in Nusantara, we have a lot. We had heroes that fought for independence, for people to remain Muslim, actually.
Mat Kilau, I don't know if it's popular in Indonesia, but it was a big blockbuster in Malaysia.
Islam could have been wiped out when the colonialists came to colonize our countries, and Islam could have been wiped out. But there were a lot of panglima pahlawan yang lawan kuasa tu untuk remain the Islam in the region. Actually, it's because of their fighting spirit and because of their passion to fight for the oppressed and fight for Islam that we are still Muslim. It didn't just go away. Because Philippines, if you see Philippines, the Spanish converted everybody, and they were Muslims. The whole entire Philippines were Muslims. But now, But Malaysia and Indonesia still majority, because we had panglima-panglima and pahlawan yang melawan untuk kekalkan Islam di tanah Melayu dan tanah Nusantara lah maksudnya. So we have to look at this type of heroes, like you have to have role models as Muslims, and ideally somebody who's not too far back, so then it's more relatable.
So in the case of Malaysia, I'm sure you have in Indonesia, but you have Mat Kilau, who is big blockbuster, and I watched the film, and guess what? It was #1 on Netflix in even Cyprus.
In Israel.
In Europe. Yeah.
It's true. It was #1 in Israel.
Oh, really?
At some point,
So this is the type of project that can wake up people, but it's just a waking up. Then after that, you have to live the life, and you can live like Mat Kilau or even Ertugrul, providing you have a community and a mission, and you're doing something about it. You're not,
but we're not propagating for you to fight.
No.
What we're saying is you have to do with what you have in your own capacity to amal ma'ruf nahi munkar lah, but not in a judging way. So there is a very thin line between helping spread the good and not judging, and this is why you need a guide. You need a wisito guru, like to really teach you the thin line between not judging and between doing good.
Mashallah, we just want to say we're less than 2 hours before we start our Ramadan here in Malaysia, and Allah is blessing us with a rain.
Big rain now.
Very nice rain, so we are, inshallah, very excited to start Ramadan very soon, and Allah is giving the countdown.
What is your preparation in this Ramadan?
We are launching 2 YouTube channels. We have Alice Media, which is in English and Arabic. We have Alice Media Francophone, which is in French. And I was surprised to find out there's 200 million Muslim who speak French as the first or second tongue. So it's a big statistic, because we are 300 million speaking French all over the world, and 2% out of 3 is a Muslim. So the biggest language, the one who speak the most French in the world are actually Muslim. So we have a channel, and we want to launch Alice Media Nusantara. We
do content in Bahasa Melayu.
Every day we want to release stories about Mualaf. We made some show in the past. We want to broadcast again. So that's the biggest challenge.
I think, again, talking about community, we want the Nusantara people to connect with each other, because we are same people. We have the same religion, we have the same roots. I'm Bugis, for example. My family came from Aceh.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Bugis.
Bugis is Sulawesi, and then
dari Makassar, dari Aceh.
Makassar. Oh, Masyaallah.
So that's also the dream we have in Nusantara, to kind of connect the people in this region, so we can do things together, we can do great things together, and be proud of our roots. Because I think some Western people tend to look down on Nusantara people and try to, they have this type of attitude, orang putih. As we say, macam rasa bagus sangat bila datang sini, macam, oh ni salah, tu salah, you kena buat macam ni, macam tu. So, and that happened with also Western converts who come to our region and they try to lecture us on how to practice our Islam. And I think we as Nusantara people, we can stick together and we should really be proud of our roots because there's so many things to be proud about.
Well, actually, that's the reason why Allah created us in the different differences, different countries, different languages, different cultures, and things like that. So Allah wants us to be doing some silaturahmi. Yeah, we know each other, we met each other, and respect each other. That's what Muslims supposed to do. Mashallah, this conversation is many inspiration that came from this conversation. I hope that we could do this conversation directly, not buying online. Probably someday you visit Indonesia, just let me know. Probably if you visit Malaysia like the other day, I would let you know. Then there's some Venita send a message. Cannot join in the conversation, but look forward to meeting you guys in Indonesia sometimes.
To come to Indonesia, we're also gonna perform our Umrah again. We did it in January. We're gonna stay 4 days in Saudi Arabia this Ramadan, inshallah, before returning to Turkey. But if we have the chance, and it's depending on your subscribers and if you feel Nusantara is growing, we're coming. It depends on the love, you know.
We usually go where the signs take us.
We feel the love, we raise love.
If there is love from Indonesia, we will go there.
Inshallah.
Maka teman-teman semua ya langsung aja di follow, di subscribe ya ini channel YouTube dari saudara kita ini, gabungan antara Prancis dan juga Malaysia ini. Di support yang banyak, biar juga nanti kita bisa bertemu secara langsung teman-teman semuanya. Bagaimana pejuang dakwah yang ada di luar negeri ini juga butuh support dari kita semuanya. Support YouTube-nya tuh Halis Media Nusantara. Atau teman-teman ingin menjadi kontributor mereka juga nggak ada masalah, tinggal connect aja. Mereka semua sangat welcome. Waduh, luar biasa. Zara, Julien ini mudah-mudahan menjadi wasilah hidayah untuk many people, for banyak orang di Indonesia, insya Allah. Sampai ketemu teman-teman semuanya, sampai ketemu lagi. Jika dirasa ini bermanfaat, monggo silakan di-share sebanyak-banyaknya dan juga follow sosial media mereka, dan juga jangan lupa untuk tetap menjalankan ibadah puasa, itu yang lebih utama. Sampai ketemu lagi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.